You're listening to The Morning Takeover with Wisdom's Daughter and James Mack on 92.7 WKRA-FM, your station for information and inspiration. Breaking news, current events, and trending stories on The Morning Takeover at 9. And good morning, everyone. This is The Morning Takeover with James and Wisdom. I am Wisdom's Daughter. I'm here with none other than James Mack in the building. So we've got a great show lined up for you guys. James is going to come with some weather. He's got a couple local stories we want to talk about. We just talked about gun control just the other day, and there was a local shooting actually not far from the radio station. He's also going to be telling you how you can view the upcoming debate. We're going to get into some interesting stories regarding prison implants. There is a scientist claiming that he has an idea for the prison of the future. His idea can rehab or rehabilitate criminals in minutes rather than years. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Tennessee's fight to ban transgender care for minors. All that and more on The Morning Takeover. But first, let's take a look at our weather. James?
And a good morning to you, Wisdom, and to everyone that's listening. After yesterday's soak that we had heavy rain on yesterday. Today we got a little relief from the rain, but the temperatures will remain the same. There are going to be some clouds during our mid-morning, giving way to sunny skies for the afternoon. The high will be around 88 degrees. The winds will be out of the northeast at about 10 to 15 miles an hour. Tonight's forecast will be few clouds from time to time. The low will be around 69 with the winds coming out of the northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Our current temperatures that we have right now is 72 in Oxford, 71 in Olive Branch, and 72 in the greater Memphis area. And we're going to be getting a little bit warmer as the temperatures rise on tomorrow and for your weekend. And the next chance for rain will be on Sunday. We have a 51% chance of rain with the highs in the lower to upper 90s. And I think that with that relief from the heat, we should be able to get our grass done and some other things down here in the Mid-South. On yesterday, there was a workplace shooting about 14 miles away from our current studios. One was sent to the hospital, according to the Marshall County Sheriff's Office. One person was shot, and the suspect is now in custody after a workplace shooting Wednesday morning in Mount Pleasant. And as I said, it was 14 miles away from our WKRA studios, right off of State Highway 7. An employee at the pallet source was shot several times by a coworker around 10 a.m. right after we got off the air, and was airlifted to Regional 1 Hospital in Memphis, the sheriff said. Also, he said that the ensuing arguments started on Tuesday afternoon and it led over into Wednesday morning. He said that the shooting was the result of a verbal altercation, according to the Marshall County Sheriff's Office. One suspect is in custody. The sheriff said that the suspect was found walking near the scene and was arrested with a gun in his backpack. The sheriff says that he believed that the shooter shot through the backpack, and it is believed that that person actually had the pistol inside the backpack and was firing through it and at the victim as he fled back into the plant. The suspect's name and age would not be released at this time, and the victim was not identified. And today is debate day. This is the very first debate of the two major presidential candidates, President Joe Biden and Mr. Donald Trump. We've arrived, Wisdom. We have arrived. The presidential race will kick into high gear when Joe Biden and Donald Trump will face off in their very first 2024 debate on Thursday. The event is much earlier than previous debates. One of several ways it is breaking with the tradition is that debate 2 will definitely feel differently thanks to the new rules and conditions set by the candidates themselves. So they're going to be patrolling themselves while up there trying to fight for time. With Biden and Trump neck and neck in most of the recent polls, their very first debate is an opportunity to make their case to the voters, especially those who are dissatisfied with either of the choices and they're turned off by the politics altogether. And here's a couple of details for our listeners. WKRA will be covering the debate along with PBS, the news special. For those of you that don't have cable, PBS will be providing coverage on the news hour, following by a digital special coverage that you can catch on their website, pbs.org, at about 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Uh, After the debate ends, the anchors will host a special analyst of the show, and you can check your local listings for play times. Also, if you do live in within the WKRA listening area and the greater Memphis area, it would be channel 29.1. That's what they sent me, 29.1 on regular antenna. And like I said, we will be covering this uh, really it's a historic event. It's going to be real interesting to see what they're going to be talking about. I'm waiting, Wisdom, to see and to hear actually whether what we've been reporting, what we've been saying, not primarily our reports, but what we've been saying is has gotten across. And you'll see them neck and neck, and you'll see your two major candidates, and you make the decision. And we'll be waiting and watching and with anticipation. That's all that I have here from the news desk. Back to you, Wisdom.
Yeah, so a couple of things. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are scheduled to be here in Atlanta, and I believe they're going to be at the University of Georgia. So I believe they're going to be at UGA on tomorrow. And so those of you who are in the Atlanta area, expect major traffic. We are also hosting another sports event at the State Farm Arena. And so, yeah, tomorrow is going to be quite a day. Really excited about that. As James said, we're going to be covering that. And as he mentioned, there was a gun incident not too far from the station. And so, again, it just goes back to the conversation that we were having earlier in the week as to why we need stricter gun laws, because it just seems like just anyone can get a gun these days. And people are getting hurt and people are losing their lives unnecessarily. So, James, I was listening to you give the weather and talk about the rain and, the upper 90s. It has been over 100 degrees in the Atlanta area. The heat index has been something. It's been a force to be reckoned with. We're seeing record numbers of people ending up in the emergency room with heat-related illnesses. And so if you are experiencing major headache, if you're experiencing nausea, if you're experiencing trouble with your vision, please go to the nearest emergency room. You could be having some type of a medical emergency due to the heat. And as James always tells you, make sure you stay hydrated. Make sure you hydrate your pets, because it has been scorching here in the South. Much it's I don't know.
And also to your point, and I didn't mean to cut in, but also to your point, please, folks, don't leave anybody, anything living, breathing in your cars and rolling up the windows. It is extremely uncomfortable. It is it and children and animals cannot fend for themselves, and I'm not trying to put them in the same category, but children and animals can't, if you know that you're going to the store, take your child inside the store. Don't take your pet to the grocery store, to the outings that you have, because of this dangerous heat. And just because we're looking at 88 degrees in the region, that's still the humidity and just the mere thought of being in a car that's sealed. Once windows are rolled up, they're sealed. And even if you let out a crack in the window and trying to prevent someone from getting into your car, prevent that altogether. Don't take any passengers that you cannot allow to go into the various places that you go. And please leave your pets at home. That's interesting, because it's really it's that time of the year again. Yeah.
Absolutely. My sister actually had an American bully, and she lost her dog to heat exhaustion. She believes she'd taken him to the park, and he was so happy and so excited to be at the park. But it was a really, really hot day, and just the short amount of time that he was in the park, he just could not cool himself down. So please be mindful of how quickly your dogs can succumb to heat exhaustion. So if you do have them outside, make sure that they have water, and be mindful that you may not want to keep them outside for too long during these hot temperatures. So want to give you a little bit of information about what you can expect from the first presidential debate. Here's what we know so far about the debate and how they are prepping. So President Biden and former President Donald Trump are set to face off this week in the first presidential debate of the cycle as the nation prepares for a rematch of the 2020 race. The debate, hosted at CNN's Atlanta studios at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday, is the first between a sitting president and former president, and marks the first debate for both men in the 2024 race, as the two cruise to their party's presumptive nominee status without participating in primary debates. And so the debate plans came together quickly last month after the Biden campaign said in a letter that he was willing to debate his Republican opponent on two occasions ahead of the November election. In a matter of hours, the two debates had been set for June and September. The debate settings are a departure from previous matchups traditionally held by the Nonpartisan Commission on Presidential Debates, which has overseen presidential debates since 1988. But the Biden campaign said that the president would not participate in debates sponsored by the commission due to what he said was an unwillingness to enforce the rules during the 2020 debates. So this is what we know about the debate structure so far. Thursday's 90-minute debate will be moderated by anchors Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, and will take place without an audience to ensure candidates may maximize the time allotted in the debate, according to CNN. It's also set to feature two commercial breaks when campaign staff will not be allowed to interact with the candidates. Interesting. When one candidate is speaking, the other microphone will be muted. There also aren't expected to be opening statements. So no opening statements, and candidates will have 2 minutes to answer any question. Well, I don't think that's going to be a problem for Donald Trump because his answers tend to be simple anyway. We'll see how Biden does. President Biden's team won a coin toss, according to CNN, which allowed them to determine either who gets to make the closing argument or where the candidates stand on the stage. The president's team chose his position on the stage, selecting the lectern on the right. That decision tees up Trump to cap the night with closing arguments. So this, James, I believe that this debate is probably going to be the most anticipated debate that we've seen in a while. I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't always watched the initial debate in the past, but this one is not only one that I'm going to be tuning in for, but I'm actually going to be present at. President
Yeah.
Biden headed to Camp David late last week, where a source told CBS News that preparations began with informal sessions with previous advisors and top White House campaign aides. Mock debates will also be held, and Bob Bauer, the president's personal attorney, is expected to play Donald Trump. That's hilarious. Leading the group helping the president prepare is Ron Klain, the former White House chief of staff, who has served President Biden in various roles for nearly 4 decades. He said at the time of the debate, planning that he would once again help his old boss prepare for televised debates with Trump. Klain previously helped Al Gore, Barack Obama, and Hillary Clinton prepare for their respective debates. I wonder what Donald Trump is doing to prepare for his debate. Now, before I give you some information about what he may or may not be doing, what do you think Donald Trump is doing, James? What is Donald Trump doing to prepare for this debate? What do you think he's doing?
He's making sure that he has the right makeup. He's making sure that his hair doesn't fly. Oh, well, I don't think that he really takes it seriously, the severity of what's going to be said. His
No.
past performances have been really horrible, and I expect the same thing. He's a desperate man. One, he knows that if he wins the presidency, 9 times out of 10, he's not going to go to prison right away, or he might not be prosecuted federally because he will make an appointment of attorney general that I think that will squash most of those federal cases, but he still has to face justice in Arizona and in Georgia. Atlanta being I think, really one of the scenes of the crimes of trying to coerce other officials in that party, Republican Party, to declare that there was some miscounting and that people were cheating, and those poor workers that were working, those the two people that were working the elections, that were Shay Moss um, and her wonderful mother, were uh, viciously attacked. And I think that it's just interesting to see. I know you said that the traffic situation and the accessibility around where the debate is going to be held, that is like Fort Knox, because you have a former president, and the current one will be there also. Like you said, the vice president and will accompany the president to Atlanta. And this is the interesting part about it: there won't be an audience. Ain't nobody's going to be catcalling and hollering and carrying on. But Jake Tapper has his hands full because I think that Mr. Trump is not going to abide by the rules. And but I think that they set the rules, and the President Biden won the coin toss, and he'll be on the right side of our screen, and on the left side uh, Mr. Trump. It's going to be an interesting night. I'm just waited with bated breath to see what's going to happen, and for you to be in that, to for you to be a witness to what's going on there. I know we're going to get some wonderful coverage from you.
Definitely. I'm gonna do my best. And you said it. You said that you don't feel that Donald Trump is taking this very seriously. And
No,
well,
no.
his preparation for this event, um it's not much. And so, his preparations suggest that you might be right. So Trump's
And I
debate
want to see what
preparation
he's going
is
to say.
his
Yeah, I want to
Trump's
see what he's going to
debate preparation is kind of more informal. And so he's held a series of private meetings with his allies. Donald Trump was on the campaign trail over the weekend, appearing at a rally in Philadelphia on Saturday, where he kind of went on about his coming debate with the president, asking questions such as, how should I handle him? Should I be tough and nasty? Should I be tough and nasty and just say you're the worst president in history, or should I be nice and calm and let him speak? He's
He has nothing to say. You're a
he's telling
convicted felon. Number one, you have no reason for being up there. You have no reason for you really, if it was really said so, the Republican Party should have disqualified him. You're a convicted felon. This is a first. This is, I mean,
it
if
is.
you think about it, this is a first that any
Yeah.
candidate for a major office of president was a convicted felon. That's the first. And the
Mhm.
second is a indicted president, former president. You were indicted by the United States government for inciting January 6th and being the ringleader. I, this is a first. That means that anybody, I guess all the crooks and anybody that's anywhere can, they're going to have to, if you let him run, everybody else should have an opportunity to run for federal office also.
That's
And
true.
shocking to me.
Everybody everybody's not Donald Trump. We know Donald Trump gets special privileges for whatever reason. So, President Biden is looking at this campaign, or looking at the debate, as an opportunity to highlight his record, his vision for the next 4 years. And when you contrast that with Donald Trump making jokes about how he should handle Biden, if he should be tough and nasty or should he be nice and let him speak, there isn't going to be an audience. And so there won't be anyone to boo either president, which is a good thing, because the audience can be They can be quite influential on the candidate's response. Everyone doesn't respond very well to hostility in the audience. But anyway, in a memo released Sunday, the Biden campaign said Americans will see two distinct versions for the future on stage in Atlanta. And this is what we've been saying all week. We're looking at the future of this country. And the vision for that future is what these debates are supposed to highlight. And so we're going to see two very different things. I honestly think that there are going to be more people tuning into this than ever before. Now, who's qualified for the debate? In order to qualify for the debate, the candidates had to meet criteria outlined by CNN, including receiving at least 15% in four separate national polls of registered or likely voters, and having their name appear on enough state ballots to reach the threshold of 270 electoral votes needed to win the presidency. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. failed to meet the debate criteria by last week's deadline, cementing the one-on-one debate. Though the independent presidential candidate will not appear alongside Trump and President Biden at Thursday's debate, he is expected to run counter-programming. His running mate, Nicole Shanahan, teased the move in a post on social media, saying, if Americans don't want to watch the quote-unquote fake debate on Thursday, we've got you covered. Kennedy's campaign on Tuesday issued a press release confirming that he plans to respond to the debate in real time in his own debate. That is interesting. Now, I've never heard of that before. I'm not sure if this is something new, but apparently Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to hold his own special private debate, his own debate, where he's going to kind of chime in. And yet Nicole Shanahan is calling the actual real debate fake.
But I mean, how you going to debate your own self? That's I have great respect for the Kennedy family, for the work that they have done, the leadership that they have shown, and I have condolence and sympathy for the tragedy that that family uh, endured over the years. But sit down, Rob. My thing is, hey, well, if Donald Trump can run with 34 felonies, go ahead and run. I'm changing my mind. Everybody run. Let Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse, Tom and Jerry, just let everybody run. Everybody run because
Are you
on the
not
facetious
president?
side. But if we're looking for a leader, if we're looking for an opportunity to select a person to carry us through the next 4 years, I really believe that we should look at and listen. And I'm glad that there's not going to be an audience because there won't be any kind of distraction as far as people jeering and gearing and everything. Which I would love to be the voice in the room hollering, just sit down, your makeup is running, or whatever the case may be. That's just a little side note. But I want to hear principle. I want to hear policy, and I want to hear what is it going to take. How are you going to take us forward in these next 4 years? What is your plan? Let's hear what he has to say. And Donald Trump is not good at policy. He's
No.
not good at making policy. So, what are you going to do on the world stage, gentlemen? Both of them, they got some explaining to do. What are you going to do? Are you just going to throw jabs and talk about this person and call him out his name and all these other things? He can't call him Sleepy Joey anymore because he was asleep up in New York before your judge up there, and he was at nodding at the table like, I'm sleepy. I've
I
been out all night long, and
I heard that
hey,
I heard that he was passing gas and snoring in the courtroom. It
but
was
that
absolutely
how
ridiculous.
is how insulting is that? You sitting there in a court of law before 12 people that's going to decide your fate. Oh, I mean, come on. I didn't mean to do sound effects, but come on. I mean, it's ridiculous. And people, I just believe, maybe I'm an optimist to the fifth power, but I just believe that the majority of the American people will make a decision for leadership at the presidential level and in their congressional districts that will hopefully keep us on a stable footing. There's nothing perfect. We got some big challenges around the world especially in the Middle East. We got Mr. Putin going berserk, and we got people fighting all over the world. There's situations in the Caribbean and Haiti and all over the world that we have to really stay focused on. NATO is at stake because Mr. Trump said that he will disband NATO and he will pull out of the NATO alliance. That would put Europe in a big vulnerable position because you got China, you got North Korea, you got uh, Russia that's waiting. They say, okay, y'all pull out. Why would you pull that protection away from our allies that fought with us side by side to keep and remain free as we are? I'm waiting to hear the principles of the matter. They can fight later. Get them in the ring, But I want to hear what you got to say. It's what's going to be said in this debate, wisdom, that's going to set the whole tone for the rest of the campaign.
Absolutely. Well, we've got to cut to a quick commercial break and we'll be right back. Wisdom's daughter and James Mack are dominating the airways with the Morning Takeover on 92.7 WKRA-FM, your station for information and inspiration. Would you like to advertise your business on the radio? We're seeking sponsors for the Morning Takeover. Space is limited, so act now. Send an email to morningtakeoverjw@gmail.com for more information. You're listening to The Morning Takeover with Wisdom's daughter and James Mack on 92.7 WKRA-FM, your station for information and inspiration. And we're back. So we've been talking about what you can expect in the upcoming debate. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, they're going to be in Atlanta on Thursday evening. The debate will be starting at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And what we can expect is Donald Trump is probably going to have a very basic vocabulary, probably going to be throwing out some jokes, and we'll probably get more of a vision and more of an insight into the president's plan for the next 4 years. We've been kind of talking about Donald Trump's plan over the past week, and certainly did a deep dive yesterday and the day before into his plan if he were to win the presidency. And a lot of what we read is quite alarming, but we will have to wait and see. But what is for certain is that this is probably going to be the most anticipated initial presidential debate in quite a long time, because again, they are making history by having a debate between a sitting president and a prior president, which has not happened. So more to come on that. All right. In other news, scientists want to implant prisoners with memories of their crimes that show their victims' perspective. So we have a scientist claiming that he has an idea for the prison of the future, which can ultimately rehabilitate criminals in minutes rather than years. A scientist unveiled a concept for a prison of the future that he has claimed would fast track a criminal's release to minutes instead of years or decades. It is called Cognify. The design would implant synthetic memories of a person's crime into their brain, but showing their victim's perspective. The system could feature a VR-like device that displays AI-generated footage of the offense, coupled with a brain implant that induces emotional states like remorse or regret, feelings some individuals may not produce on their own. The concept, developed by Hashem Al-Ghali, would ensure the long-term effects of the therapy session by making the memories permanent. Now, there are more than 1.7 million people incarcerated in the U.S., and while officials have long said prison deters offenders from future crimes, more than 100 studies in 2021 found that it does not prevent people from reoffending. With this in mind, Al-Ghali is looking towards the future with a prison he claims will help criminals learn from their past. Let's hear a little bit more about this program, Cognify.
Welcome to Cognify, a facility designed to treat criminals like patients. Instead of spending years in an actual prison cell, prisoners could finish their sentence here in just a few minutes. Cognify could someday create and implant artificial memories directly into the prisoner's brain. These complex, vivid, and lifelike memories are created in real time using AI-generated content. Depending on the seriousness of the subject's crime and their sentence, the memories could be tailored to the rehabilitation needs of each subject. The artificial memories implanted by Cognify would be seamlessly incorporated into the existing neural networks of the brain, preventing cognitive dissonance and ensuring the subject experiences the memories as if they were real.
So this one is really interesting.
Wow, I heard part of it. I was reading the caption.
Yeah, we had
Wow.
some we had some technical difficulties, but this one is pretty interesting. I mean, this scientist ultimately is claiming that his technology can create and implant artificial memories into a prisoner's brain. So it would be very vivid, very lifelike memories, um, real time, using AI generated content. And, little confession, I love going to the arcade, I love VR. And I love putting those goggles on where you kind of, you're in alternate reality and it does feel very real. So it would be something like that. It would be something where these criminals would ultimately be in an alternate reality in their mind where time would pass very differently, very slower than in real life, kind of making them experience years worth of whatever crime they committed. But ultimately what this technology is stating is that it would allow them to have the prisoner experience what their victims experienced. And that ultimately is supposed to be a way that they would rehabilitate these particular criminals. So really, really interesting stuff. I mean, for me, it was something out of a sci-fi movie, something out of the Terminator.
Star Trek. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think about this? Do you think that this is something that could actually work if they could, make prisoners feel what their victims felt in a matter of minutes, but for them it will feel like years? It's almost like brainwashing, is it not?
I have mixed feelings on this type of technology. One, it would help to probably, in some extreme cases of persons that unalive people and essay people and some real sinister people that have diabolical thinking, and if we let them out in society, that they will commit these crimes again. Uh, on the other hand, altering a person's thought pattern, and if they could do that, what else can they do?
I
Will
was
they?
thinking the same thing.
It makes me. I'm really torn because will we? Are we? Are yes, control these persons probably would cause the prison population to decrease because of I can alter your thinking and I can alter your way of doing things that you won't commit any crimes. Sounds good. Okay, sounds good. On the flip side, playing God,
Yeah,
and that's pushing the envelope. AI is a great technology. I think so. Used with used properly, but I think that I'm more so thinking that it will be crossing the line if they're not doing something like this already. I always say, and my siblings tell me something's wrong with me. I think that movies are a preamble to actually what's happening, or what's going on. We look at the Matrix, AI. Might as well say it's AI. You got
it is. It is.
receptor. You
This
got a
this
you,
is
you got a
definitely
yeah. You got
AI.
a receptor. You got a receptor in the back of your head, and I just plug you in, and you're in another world. I mean, you jumping off buildings, and you got superhuman strength, and you got the villains chasing after you. That's why I mean, and I'm not against the video games and things like that. People learn how to fly airplanes just sitting in their living rooms. People learn how to shoot accurately in their comfort of their home and other things that are going on. And next thing you know, I heard that lonely people, they got drones and different things that they're building, and reminds me of iRobot and things like that. We're on the cusp that technology is really um, I don't like playing God. You know
It's
what I'm
very
saying?
scary.
But then
It's
again, I want the technology to help. Wow.
It's I'm with you, I'm torn. It's getting really, really scary, how advanced we are becoming. I mean, this Cognify technology implants synthetic memories. And what we do know about AI is that as great as AI is, it's also easy to steal. It's very easy to create AI for fraudulent purposes. So can you imagine the new form of
Yeah.
terrorism would be in the form of AI,
But
meaning
I'm afraid more, I'm more afraid that what if something happens? Anything
that's what
mechanical can happen. What if we
that's what
turn
I'm
these
talking
people into Frankenstein monsters, or they get or those memories, uh, we turn them into people that will do terrible things, or these super, or use it.
It's
Just say, for
brainwashing.
instance, yeah, well,
It's
yeah, that too. But then, what if we use them in
brainwashing.
the soldiers and put something in the soldiers and say you the super soldier? We ain't
Right.
got to. Your
Right.
hunger is suppressed. You only get certain nourishments. We'll shoot in you, give you insure and stuff to keep you alive. We'll suppress that, but you go out there and you fight, fight to the death, or what? I mean, to the unalivement or whatever, And it's frightening. And that's why I said you think about benefits, okay? Yeah, we can probably help someone suppress their desires to hurt folks and to do those things. But then on the other side, we're playing dangerously close, very
This
close. And I
this
think
is
it's
good
happening,
tech.
playing God. Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
absolutely. It's good tech.
yeah.
The challenge is it's tech that in the wrong hands. What I was going to say is that if just imagine the new form of terrorism where we are implanting false memories into people's
Wow.
brains. You
Yeah.
have people who are incarcerated for crimes that they did not commit, although those numbers, may not be very high, but still, what happens, with you implanting memories like this into someone's brain and they didn't even actually commit the crime. My question was going to be, what about sociopaths and psychopaths who don't have the ability to feel remorse? They don't have the ability to feel or show empathy. So on the one hand, I'm with you. Any idea that may help reduce prison populations, especially because we know that the prison populations are primarily African American across the country. But these numbers are staggering. Where is it? 1.7? Is it 1.7 million people
Almost.
currently incarcerated? Yeah, more than 1.7 million
And the
people
majority are
in the
black.
US. Yeah, in the US are incarcerated. So I found this
I'm,
article really
I'm,
interesting.
I'm
It
really
sounded like
afraid of.
VR'd me.
I'm afraid you come up with. My thing is, Wisdom. You're all right. You're great. You're a great commentator, and you're great. You're a great broadcaster. But you come up with some things. You got me tonight, literally thinking that this could go forth if we had. Wow. I mean, who would have ever thought that you can change and alter the thinking and behavior of people, which it's spooky because I can change your way of thinking. I can make you think that I can make a man think that he's a cat or a dog or he's uh he's invincible or something like that. And it's always in the mind. If I get that
But
mind, I could wipe away and
yeah,
take you back to slavery and the slave days, and you won't feel you have no memory of the civil rights movement and the torture. You'll obey. It's like
now,
Dr.
James, I
Frankenstein.
don't know
It's
if
like
this
Dr.
technology
Frankenstein.
does all that, but
You're in my power. You're in my power, and you do what I tell you to do. Wisdom,
what
and you just
Cognify
you know,
what Cognify is supposed to do is to again it is false. Well, I shouldn't say false. Let me stop saying false. It is let me use the words that they utilize. It's synthetic, not necessarily false. That would be if someone stole this technology and was using it for nefarious purposes, but it's synthetic memories of the crime that they committed generated by AI. But this technology would allow them to feel what their victim felt. So for example, you know,
So
if
you're gonna
if
toe to
I
toe.
yeah,
You're gonna toe.
if I embezzled money from a company and then, you know, you lost your entire your whole retirement, and now you're having suicidal thoughts, or you know, your family's destroyed. So I guess the idea is that it's supposed to show them the consequences of their crimes and make them feel what the victims felt as a means of rehabilitating them. But one good thing to think about is that this could potentially replace extended prison sentences with brief, intensive rehabilitation through artificial memory implantation. That's what they're calling it, artificial memory implantation. And, you know, the cost of maintaining prison facilities would be drastically
But it's
lower.
still
So
not
there are
good.
some
It's
benefits.
still not good. It's I don't see. I'm really on the board. I'm not even on the borderline calling it good, because I'm thinking about the consequences. If something, nobody's gonna steal this. Okay, it's gonna be like
You
Fort
said
Knox.
nobody's going to
You don't
steal
have
this?
to.
Oh, oh
I
no.
don't believe. My opinion is,
I have
as
to
a journalist
disagree.
and as an observer.
Technology that can
Okay, somebody. Okay, well, they're stealing things.
memory.
I think a hacker can get in. The way people are hacking things out, and you got
Russia
me
will be
thinking
all over this.
seriously. See, you shouldn't do this, because I'll be up at night. I'll be up tonight, and I won't be sleeping, because I think that the people are gonna come and put a thingamajig in me or something, and
Russia would be
make me be.
all over this. To
And
be
then
able
we
to
got to think
implant
about this,
synthetic
though. Think
memory,
about this, Wisdom. Just think about this. I got a whole. Just take Mississippi. All right, the prisoners in Mississippi. I got a whole hundreds of thousands, and it's mostly black people. I got them. Now I need some free labor. Think about the misuse of this technology. We need
that's
some free labor. We don't need to pay these people. We can keep the loot for ourselves. We just juke the people. I'm saying juke, that's my southern thing. You can implant these persons, and they'll work sun up to sundown 24/7 without getting sweating and hungry or nothing. You keep them alive because you got a muscle structure, and you got to keep people going and breathing and everything. So they might put them, like I said, to give them some of that insure, or give them something to drink or something. I don't know how they would do it, but you slave these people and slave. The thing, misuse of technology it
yeah,
bothers me,
it's
and
possible.
I don't see any good in it. I'm just gonna be for real. I don't see any good in it. I think it's playing God. I think that it would be going too far, and
Scary.
if you really truly want to rehabilitate people, you do the prevention before a person becomes a diabolical person.
But how do you do that with millions of
You
people?
start with
There aren't enough
Then
resources in
wisdom.
this
Okay, but
country.
then but you're gonna have robots out there, and you're gonna have your
Not
cab driver,
necessarily.
your driver, your airplane pilot, or whomever
This,
it is, your nurse or
this, tech-
doctor, and I got them under my power. It's like
this,
Dr. Frankenstein's
this
monster. You do
technology
what I
doesn't
say.
take away your
Uh,
current memories. It
and
doesn't
it
take
takes your
away
free
your
will
memory.
away. I think. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not
No,
saying it take your memory away, but we don't know what this technology can do. They tell us this was
this is what
press,
it's supposed to
and
do. This is what it's
it'll
supposed to
torture you.
do. I'm
That's what
not
I'm saying.
trying
It's
to
supposed to.
misrepresent cognitive.
No, I'm not
Wait,
saying
wait,
it's
wait,
you, but
wait, wait, wait,
you're a
wait,
commentator. It's your
wait. Let me
job to
be
bring
clear.
these things to
Let me
us.
be clear. I am not trying to misrepresent
I
this
know you're
technology.
not. I wouldn't
All
blame you for that.
all
But you
all
got
the
me thinking, sister. You got me
all the
thinking.
founders
Oh,
said,
Lord.
was, because you over here making up stuff. The
No, I'm
the
not. I'm looking at
the
the spookiness of it. Then people gonna have me at the man on the street. He ain't the man on the street no more. He gonna really be the man on the street. I'm gonna make him do what I want to. He's under my power.
listen, we gotta move
Give it
on
to
from
Donald
this
Trump. Why don't
story.
we? No, 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 no,
We
no,
gotta
no.
move on. We
Give it
gotta
to
move on.
Donald Trump. Then give it to
All
Donald
right.
Trump and
We
make
gotta
him
move to
stop
a commercial.
stealing. And
We gotta
you
move to a
make it
commercial
nervous.
break.
Make it nervous. You
Hang on. Wisdom's Daughter and James Mack are dominating the airways with the Morning Takeover on 92.7 WKRA-FM, your station for information and inspiration. Would you like to advertise your business on the radio? We're seeking sponsors for the Morning Takeover. Space is limited, so act now. Send an email to morningtakeoverjw@gmail.com for more information. You're listening to The Morning Takeover with Wisdom's Daughter and James Mack on 92.7 WKRA-FM, your station for information and inspiration. Okay, and we're back. And before the break, James and I were having a very interesting discussion about what he is calling some brainwashing technology. As I was saying, I am not going to misrepresent the developer's technology. But tell us what you think.
You didn't.
Tell us what you think. This is technology that would implant synthetic memories of the person's crime, not fake memories, not made up memories, but it will be reenactments of the person's crime that would be synthetically implanted into their brain, and it would be generated using AI. So it would really be like a VR-like experience, and it would show them their crime from the victim's perspective. The idea of this technology is to induce regret and remorse. And so for that person, they would be having this experience. It's just like when you have a dream and you feel like you're dreaming for forever and it's really just a couple seconds. And so what normally might take many years would only take a few minutes. And so tell us your thoughts. Is this dangerous technology? Is this the prison of the future where we can have something that can truly rehabilitate people? Is this too much like sci-fi? Are we going to end up with mummies? What would be the long-term effects of something like this? What are the long-term effects of potentially synthetic implanted memory? So, all right. So in other news, the Supreme Court will hear a challenge to a Tennessee law banning transition care for minors. Now, this is another interesting story, what I call a hot story. It's a very sensitive issue. So the Supreme Court agreed on Monday to consider a Tennessee law that bans certain medical treatments for transgender minors. This is the first time the justices will decide on the constitutionality of such statewide bans. So we're talking about potentially banning certain medical treatments for transgender minors. The move would have broad ramifications for about 25 states that have enacted similar measures. Republican-led state legislatures have pushed to curtail transgender rights in recent years with laws that target gender transition care and that regulate other parts of life, including which bathrooms students and others can use and which sports teams they can play on and so forth. The case, which is United States versus Scrimetti, will be heard in the court's next term, which typically begins on the first Monday in October. Though no date has been set for oral argument, the justices had considered whether to hear two challenges to transition care, including the Tennessee appeal and one centered on a Kentucky law, at their private conference each week. But they had repeatedly postponed making a decision, suggesting there might have been a debate over whether to do so. The court's decision to take up the case signals a willingness by at least some of the justices to delve into yet another polarizing social issue, even as they have yet to rule on some of the biggest cases for this term involving emergency abortion care, disinformation on social media, and the scope of presidential power. So ultimately, what's happening here is the Attorney General for Tennessee, Scott Scrimetti, argued that the number of minors receiving diagnoses and medical treatments for gender dysphoria has risen sharply in recent years, prompting Tennessee and other states to respond. The laws, he said, were enacted to ensure that potentially irreversible sex transition interventions of uncertain benefit are not performed on minors who may not be able to fully grasp their lifelong consequences and risk. And there lies in the problem. You have doctors, you have these surgeons, you have people, not all, but some people in the medical field who have no problem performing irreversible sex transition interventions on minors, primarily because these type of procedures pay the big bucks. And so how can a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old who's not old enough to drive, not old enough to purchase cigarettes, not old enough to drink alcohol, not even old enough to get a legal job and to legally work in this country, how can they then have the maturity level to be able to determine and make the decision for themselves about irreversible sex transition surgeries and interventions? Such treatments, he warned, carry serious and potentially irreversible side effects, including infertility, diminished bone density, sexual dysfunction, cardiovascular disease, and cancer. And we are seeing, as they said, record high numbers of young children being diagnosed with gender dysphoria, if I'm saying it right. Ultimately, they're confused about their gender or feeling like they are or identifying with a gender different from the gender that they were born with. So, for example, I was born a male, but I feel like a female. I was born female, but I feel like a male. And we all know that teenagers go through a lot of mixed emotions. It takes a very long time for them to understand their own bodies and understand themselves and to come into their own. And so I do have some mixed feelings about this, because you have a number of people coming forward on social media stating that they had some type of a sex change, they had their breasts removed, they had their genitals altered, and other things, took medications to, grow their chest or to make their voices sound higher or sound lower, and later on in life regretted it. So the Biden administration strongly resisted the notion, saying that treatment is rare and citing guidelines that medical interventions for transgender adolescents occur only in appropriate cases. And after undergoing a thorough assessment to determine that it is warranted, I disagree with that statement. I've seen a number of stories on social media where parents are taking their children to doctors so that they can get gender transition surgery of some sort. And I don't understand how any parent could do that to their child. I say wait, make them wait. Why is that a decision that has to be made at 12 years old, 13 years old? The number of teenagers who identify as transgender has rapidly risen over recent years, according to the New York Times, but data suggests that only a small number receive puberty blockers or hormones. Surgeries in adolescents are extremely rare. They're extremely rare, but they do happen. About 100,000 transgender minors live in the states that have passed laws restricting gender-affirming care. Many American groups have endorsed youth gender treatments as evidence-based and necessary. Lambda Legal, one of the groups challenging the Tennessee ban, voiced cautious optimism that the court would hear the case. This court has historically rejected efforts to uphold discriminatory laws, and without similar action here, these punitive categorical bans on the provision of transgender affirming care will continue to wreak havoc on the lives of transgender youth and their families. Now, here's the thing. Everyone, rights do need to be respected. We're using pronouns now and asking people how do they want to be referred to, and not just assuming because someone looks like a man that they want to be referred to as he. Maybe they want to be referred to as she. And making sure that these teens and these minors are getting, regardless of what their gender is, they need care. However, I believe that some of this has gone way too far. I believe that in some cases, too many allowances are being made, and I don't think they're giving these kids time to work it out. James, what are your thoughts on this? Because this is something that did not exist in your time and your generation when you were a teen. It's something that didn't exist
My time.
in
Well, okay.
Did you have
Again.
transgenders in your
We did.
time?
I mean, well, I'm grateful for my time, because something, I really miss my time, because my time, and in my time we wouldn't have even thought, and I'm saying my time, I grew up in a different era, and not in the era, I grew up in the era of change. We had the telephone on the wall. We had technology that came along, the beeper came along. We thought we was somebody had those beepers hanging from our belts, and when the cell phone came out, we thought it was for the doctor and rich people, and we have now we walk around with them. Everybody can get one. You can go to the dollar store and get one. Let me say this: the views that I expressed are those that are James's, and it's not of any other person. And I put that disclaimer there to say that people are playing God. There's no way that a child of mine, that if I had children, I don't have any, and it's not, uh, I don't have any, put it that way. But if that was the case, it is my responsibility, or the responsibility of the parents, to one, what you were blessed to have, lead that child and in the way that it should go. Now, when they become an adult of decision making process or decision making age, we all think we're grown at a certain time. We get there and we say we're grown and all these other things. I got a problem with adolescents and children being turned into or steered towards a direction that they can't make that free will. They have not lived or experienced. I am I'm a firm believer that what God made you, He made you. That's James now. What God made you, He made you. Now, people have the free will and the right to choose what they want to do. That's your business, okay? I got a deep problem with paying for it. I don't believe that as a taxpayer, I'm not going to pay. I shouldn't be able to pay for it. No, I don't believe Medicare, Medicaid, or any other federal benefit should pay for a decision that's made, even when it comes down to abortion. I don't believe federal dollars, unless there's a God heaven's emergency that has to be done. I don't believe that. I believe that if a person makes their mind up that this is what they want to do, that they should be able to get the funds necessary through their private insurance or whatever to get it done. That's a whole nother show. It even goes back to backtrack on the spookiness of the AI situation. What are we doing? Who are we to determine that if a person comes here male, that's what they came here as? The influences in their lives may make them, people say, I was confused, and my identity, my identity is wrong. Somebody had to influence that person or to even give them that thought. Goes back to the brain again. If I can put that thought in your mind, I can make you say and think that this is what you ought to be. I think that it starts at home. Responsibility of that starts at home. And to make a long story short, I don't believe in playing God. Period. Wait till a person is of age to make those decisions for themselves, and they pay for it, and it shouldn't be paid. I'm not saying that you said it should be paid by tax dollars. I don't go from it from a belief standpoint. I'm not going to put my beliefs on anyone. That's just, like I said, James's opinion. We have to give. I don't know where we're headed. We're headed in some directions that, even though technology and even though there's the ability for people to change their gender as far as physically, um, okay, people go to different places and get this lifted and that cut and that tucked and all those other things. It's an individual's right to do that if they want to do that on their own dime. I just feel that we're headed in a direction as a society that it's going to be anything goes. We've taken,
It
in
feels
my
that way.
day, we never thought about this in my day. Wisdom, and what I mean by I'm glad I was born when I was born, and I said that, and a lot of people that I've been around and I associate myself with say, man, the day is different, and the day was different when my mother was my age too. I'm glad I was born when I was born because I have I think that I got a little bit grounded a little bit more, and I'm just glad of that. I'm not saying people do what they want. I can't stop a person from doing what they want to do. You want to change, you want to do this, that's your free will to do. But my opinion about it is we got this. I mean, we're playing God. We're playing God with technology. We don't know what the next 5 years is going to hold. You have your, I'm not saying this, the person has a child and they're going through, and it's already hard enough. Social and peer pressures are everywhere. There are things that are being permitted that weren't permitted when I was growing up, and it's foreign to me now. And I feel like, hey, I'm coming to another world of something that you know, am I
And-
really on Earth or am I on another planet somewhere? Because this
and
just can't be. And people have accepted this. We
that
accept it. Oh, go along
that's
with it.
are we
What are you
too
saying?
complacent? Are we too tolerant? You're starting to see it
Yes,
with celebrities.
yes,
So, for example, with Gabriel Union and Dwayne Wade, they were very public
yeah.
about what was happening, with his son. I think the issue also is, children, they will do what their friends do. Okay, so you have a stomach ache, I have a stomach ache. You dyed your hair blonde, I want to dye my hair blonde, and so some of these cases could be attributed in terms of the high numbers to children who just want to feel a certain way to fit in. And it's very easy to convince yourself this is how I feel. The challenge with this is we're not just talking about a transgender uh, girl who wants to play on her middle school's cross country and track and field teams, right? That's one thing, right? I am biologically a male, but I identify and I live my life as a female. I'm 11 years old. I want permission to play on the girls cross country track. It could be the same as I'm an 11-year-old girl and I want permission to play on the boys football team. That's not so much the issue. When we're talking about this medical care and transgender care, we're talking about um the idea of making it legal for these young minors receive
Mhm. I'm sorry.
to receive hormone treatments. We're talking about, so for example, several European countries have recently restricted hormone treatments for children. Now, none of them have imposed an outright ban, but they are restricting it, right? They're agreeing that minors should not be receiving hormone treatments. Now, there are some doctors and families saying that this type of medical care can relieve gender stress, again, which is a part of this dysphoria. Um, that many transgender minors experience, but I personally don't agree with that. I don't think it's a good idea for minors to be taking this type of treatment because you don't know what it's going to do to the body later on. And I
Ex-
think this country has become extremely complacent. In
Yes.
2023, the justices upheld a federal appeals court ruling that an 11-year-old girl, I think I just talked about this. So an 11-year-old girl, she's transgender girl. She was allowed to join her middle school's track and field team. Uh, but again, that's entirely different from doctors who or families seeking to get hormone treatments for their minor children. For me, that's just as bad as parents taking their 14 and 15-year-olds to get breast implants or taking their
Exactly.
13-year-old to get a nose job because they want her to compete in a pageant. I mean, this is because I don't want anyone to think that we're not respecting transgender rights, but remember, we're talking about minors. We're talking
I'm
about kids
saying,
that
I'm
want to
saying,
play.
I'm saying this though, wisdom,
We're
and
talking
you said it right. I'm sorry. Go ahead, but I'm saying this. We're treading on thin ice when it comes down to this. And are we, as a society, like you said, are we more accepting? I'm not. I know maybe some other people are. I'm not knocking you. That doesn't mean that I'm going to broadcast it. I mean, I love all of God's creatures. I really do, and human beings. good, bad, or indifferent. That's just me. But I think it crosses the line. It really I mean, they're okay. You're on the football team. Okay, you play with some guys on the football team and fool around. Now they got them as kickers. Now miss that ball and they got to tackle you. You're gonna hurt. And I'm not trying to be chauvinistic under any circumstances.
But that's
God made.
different. That's
Yeah, yeah.
completely different from receiving puberty blockers and
Yes,
receiving, hormones that
exactly.
will cause a male's body to develop as a
Right.
female, or cause a female's
People
body
are
to develop as a
playing
male.
God.
And I
Dr.
think
Frankenstein. That's what I'm
I
telling
think
you. It's
this
Dr.
is
Frankenstein.
where, yeah, I agree with you. I think this is where the challenge is, because if you think about teenagers, minors, today they want to play football, tomorrow is basketball, right? Today, they're vegan, and then tomorrow they're doing keto. Their brains are not at a level or a stage of development where they can make these decisions, and so their parents are having to make decisions for them. And I just don't understand why the urgency. Why does it have to be done as a minor? Why can't they wait until they're 18 or 19 years old and see, do I still feel this way, or was it just a phase? Right? Is this something
It's
that I
decisions it's decisions that have to be looked at very, very carefully, because we're altering life of a human being because of a fad. They were back then. We used to wear penny loafers. We saw one person, the trendsetters. Who are the trendsetters that these young people are listening to? Who are the people? I mean, somebody is influencing this. It just didn't happen overnight. It's a process. And if I did have children, my son goes here and his friend says, "Well, I got I'm stressed and I got anxiety and this." I had never heard of this thing coming up growing up. Oh, I got anxiety, I got stress, I got my children are on pills, and I wasn't on any pills or anything to keep my he's hyper, so we're going to give him these pills and we're going to doctor him up and we're going to do all these other things. My cure for what I was doing in my day, my mama had a belt. Okay, you're gonna do what you. But then we're cruel. We're cruel. Then
either
that's
that
abuse.
or
That's
they let
abuse.
you
Don't beat your children, because either you're gonna whoop them or they're gonna whoop you. Okay, we gotta talk. I'm coming
either
down to where
that
we live at,
or they
where
let
I
you
came
run
up at.
around.
Now you can talk about Ida McCrae all day and call her a child abuser or whatever. I didn't go to jail. She didn't have to come looking for me in the streets. Her house was clean. My grades were good because there was something called discipline, not
Yes.
torture. She didn't put me on a pole and strap me to a tree and whoop me like some kind of slave or something. She didn't. I thought that at first she was trying to kill me, but I mean, unalive me. But forgive me, y'all. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Our audience know exactly where I'm coming from, and if
Absolutely.
we are allowing AI and all these other technologies and all these ways of thinking, this new age thinking, to tell us and show us that we don't have a choice in the matter. If your kid says he wants to block this and have that and look like this and look like that, there's nothing that can be done. There's nothing can be done, because why? Certain groups of individuals have rights that we can't impede upon. They're here in America. They have rights, and we cannot tell a person what they can and cannot do. That's where liberty comes in at. Is it a curse? In some ways. Is it a benefit? In some ways. I'm on the borderline. Okay. I'm on the borderline with some of this stuff. And it's concerning to
Yeah.
me. It is concerning. That's
Do
all.
you know that I can't even make a doctor's appointment for my own teenage son through the member portal for my insurance? Can't do it.
Wow.
I
Why
have to
not?
I have to call, because first of all, I also could not merge his medical record with mine. He had to get his own separate medical record account where he can log in and see his test results and see his appointments and all those things. He can't
He's
even
a
drive.
child.
Listen,
He's a child.
He can't even drive himself to the doctor's office. But the thing is, they give rights to teenagers because when they get to a certain age, I mean, I have a son, but if I have a daughter, if I had a daughter the same age, technically, if she wanted to, she could get birth control, whether I wanted her to or not, because they give these children certain rights in regards to their medical care once they, this is just in the state of Georgia, once they reach the age of 13. And so I had to set up a whole separate account for him. I was able to eventually link the two, but the point is I have to go through a special process to be able to make an appointment, a doctor's appointment for my son in the event that he wants to see a doctor for for God knows what without my knowing. Okay, well how is he going to get there? Unless I drive him. I don't live in the city. There are no buses here. You can't even get an Uber where I live. I live out in the country. Okay. It's rural out here. But this is what we're talking about. And you asked the question, have we gone too far? Have we become too tolerant? Have we taken this idea of rights and gone too far left with it? We don't even have the appropriate civil rights that we should have in this country as Black and brown people. What do I mean? Because, and we've been talking about it, we still have instances where you have a Black person and someone of a different race, and they're doing the same job, but the Black person is making significantly less with the same qualifications and the same credentials, right? We're still dealing with that. We're still dealing with the right to drive while Black. And not necessarily just because I'm Black and I'm driving a BMW doesn't mean I stole it. Okay, just because I'm walking through a primarily white neighborhood with a hoodie on doesn't mean that I don't live there and I don't belong there. We're still dealing with that. And you're talking about rights of minors who can't feed themselves. They can't buy their own clothes. They can't buy the shoes that are on their feet, the clothes that are on their back. Anything that they get, they have to get money from their parents. They can't drive themselves to the doctors. But we want to give them the right to decide if they can, you know, if they desire to have hormone therapy and other gender altering medications, that they should have the right to decide that.
I'm gonna say this, and you might, and some out there in our audience might, you can disagree with me and agree. I mean, even if you agree with me, everybody's not going to feel the same way. If I'm a parent, it is my responsibility to first of all bring that child up in the right way, as they say, with love, kindness, to teach them and discipline. That's me. If we allow people to dictate what goes on and that's what's happening now. Young people are doing everything from carjacking, armed robberies, selling drugs, or telling their parents they're in the house, raising their voices, assaulting, unaliving the very people that are providing for them. Ida McCrae, my mother says, forgive me, Ida, but she knows, hey, Ma, I brought you in this world and I will take you out. Not just Bill Cosby just wasn't the only one that said that. That wasn't when it came up. And she literally meant it. Until you leave this roof, you will abide. You will do as I say. Okay, which a lot of us left home at 16, 17, and all these other things. And as we lived life and had to make those, when they had to buy their own food and provide their own light and shelter and everything else. And I'm not saying put your children out of the house or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. Now we're at a crossroads in parenting. Do we have, your child doesn't even have a right to even, they got a right to supersede what you say. Taking out of, you just had the child. They got the rights. They got, like you said, they got more rights than anything. Because why? We want to get them in the way of thinking that this is the way to go. Now we're going to create these people. We got these young people of today, and I'm not saying all of them, but there's a segment of young people, and I'm not saying color or anything, but all X generation, Y, Z, or whatever. We done ran out of the alphabet. Now, what are we gonna do? A to the fifth power, B to the seventh. I don't know what's going to happen. We're dealing, and we're on the threshold of something that is very crucial. We're on the borderline of I don't know what to do. And it leaves more questions than answers. The great stories that you brought and the great information that you brought, there are a lot of people that don't take the time to really pay attention to really what's going on. These things that they might be throwing it out there just to see what people think until they get enough people to say, I agree, put that thing and jug them in the head and give them the thinking and make them be sorrowful or whatever, but we don't know what could happen. What is this experiments that they're doing? We become lab rats. We become lab rats now. We're going to try this. We're going to try that. We're going to try that instead of allowing our free will to do so. I'm not knocking any society. I'm not making any excuses for such the way that I think. When you said that about your child, that he's the one that has to make the doctor's appointment and all those other things, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking, Wisdom. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying doom and gloom, but I thank you for bringing this to the forefront.
Absolutely. Well, listen, that is our show for today. We will continue talking about some of this as the days go on and as more information comes forward about what's happening in the state of Tennessee with this case. We want to thank all of you for listening. Those of you who are following us on social media on YouTube, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel so that you can know when we are live. And thank you for listening. And we will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. You're listening to The Morning Takeover with Wisdom's Daughter and James Mack on 92.7 WKRA-FM, your station for information and inspiration. Breaking news, current events, and trending stories on The Morning Takeover at 9.